activity, and understanding. The main thing with all this is to clarify your identity. You are something after all. As I see it, all the paths and traditions are simply trying to clarify what we are. Some approaches point to this positively. You are this. Some approaches do it negatively. You are not this. In my view, they are all saying the same thing in different ways. All the doing, studying, and practicing tend to be distracting in the end. Why? All that really needs to happen is a correction of our view or understanding. Suffering arises from a misunderstanding, primarily a misunderstanding of who or what we are. No amount of activity necessarily addresses this. Self-knowledge is really a clear understanding or insight. Basically, what you are, as you eventually come to see, is non-objective, non-conceptual being awareness. It is totally clearly present now. Being is. Awareness is cognizing right now. The interesting thing is that you actually know this and always have. There is an undeniable sense of being present and aware. It is totally, intuitively clear. Something happens, I would say, hopefully without getting too mystical, when you hear about this directly. Why? Because the one pointing to it knows it already. Words are just trying to point, but there is something being pointed to that is in you, but you just do not see it yet. This being, awareness, or true nature is non-objective and pre- or non-conceptual. In other words, before the next thought appears, being is, and awareness is functioning. The conceptual mind is an instrument in non-conceptual awareness. There is a very basic point here, not to be missed or glossed over. The thinking mind is a tool or appearance that arises subsequent to your true nature. You are, and what you are is aware or cognizant. The conceptual mind appears to this knowing presence. It is extremely critical to see this point. Make sure it is clear. All questions are mental phenomena or thoughts. Being is not a thought. The mind is oriented to objectivity, things, thoughts, and activities. That is why the thinking mind is not the proper tool for recognizing one's being. It cannot be done. It is like looking for wine in an empty wine bottle. It simply is not there. That is why only reading about this will never work. Nor will practicing, in the sense of pursuing objective states. Self-knowledge arises from the non-conceptual recognition of your identity as aware being. Every being is this presently, only they may not have recognized what this is and are imagining themselves to be something they are not. This is the fundamental ignorance, the initial link in the chain of suffering. All hell breaks loose from there. How to understand all this? There is no practice per se. Mere activity is not opposed to ignorance. Only right knowledge can cancel ignorance. That is why the emphasis is on knowledge or understanding. The best way and most successful approach to understanding this, for most of us, is to have discussions on this with someone who can speak from their own first-hand experience. The path of becoming versus being. The notion that spirituality involves an awakening followed by a period of integration resulting in final liberation is entirely fallacious. Many non-discriminating seekers are misled by such patently dualistic and erroneous concepts. These notions are attractive primarily because they tally with the seeker's own unexamined beliefs, namely that he or she is a separate person and that freedom lies in the future at the end of a process. This is the path of becoming rather than being, of duality rather than non-duality. Many who hold to this conceptual framework are convinced that they have awakened and have understood the basic points of non-duality. But a little self-examination shows that the seeking, doubts, suffering, and bondage to the conceptual mind are often still in full force. The continuing interest in so-called enlightened teachers, spiritual fads, books, seminars, satsangs, retreats, self-improvement techniques, and so on is a clear sign that that the core matter is not settled and the basic message of non-duality is not clear. Many working within this framework believe that lasting freedom will dawn after some period of time, such as 5 or 10 years. They fail to see that freedom is not the result of time, which is only an imaginary concept. Freedom is the ever-present natural condition, which is only seemingly obscured by limiting beliefs and concepts that are being believed presently. The dualistic model elevates and glorifies the special, enlightened teacher who is assumed to have achieved the goal, and attracts those who view themselves as seekers who are on the inside track to their own eventual liberation also. Again, this model is popular not because it is true, but because it matches the seeker's own dualistic beliefs. The issue is often clouded by residual interest in fame, wealth, popularity, special status, and so on. But eventually, through experience, discrimination, and honest self-evaluation, the light dawns and one begins to question the conceptual frameworks that one has assumed is true. Then the clear pointers of genuine non-duality may find an opening through which to strike. The utter simplicity of this. Questions and doubts are thoughts arising and setting before you. They come and go, but you remain as what you are. You clearly exist, and you are clearly aware. Everything else is an object that comes and goes. Everything you can sense, perceive, or know is a thing, an object, an appearance. This includes the apparent body, mind, personality, and all else. All you can say about yourself is I am, I know, and I am nothing perceivable or conceivable. Awareness or being are not things out there that you see apart from yourself. You are that which is present and aware. You are that pure, knowing presence itself. This is so simple and intuitively obvious that we overlook the point that this is completely self-evident. Instead of simply pausing at this point, we are apt to jump back into the questions and doubts of the mind, granting them a sense of reality. Suddenly, we are talking about I and awareness and trying to piece it all together at a conceptual level, and of course, we come up empty-handed. That is why the answer can never be found in the mind. The mind as such has no capacity to know your real nature. The mind is simply a label for a collection of inert thoughts rising and setting before your knowing presence. That is why all the questions and doubts fail to lead us to the direct knowing of who we are. Before the next thought appears, you are. This presence, the sheer fact of being and knowing, does not need any confirmation by thought. It is clear and certain knowledge that does not need any mind activity to confirm. Everyone knows he or she is, that knowing does not engage the conceptual mind at all. It is evident, it is more than evident, it is beyond doubt, even now. You cannot say, I am not or I am not aware. Try it and see if you can convince yourself otherwise. That is what is very interesting about this. The clear and certain self-knowledge is already established. Our trouble is that we give undue emphasis to the mind. What about this? What about that? But can those thoughts even be there without your own existence? And the mind creates the notion of a limited I, a person, a being, standing apart from pure awareness. Then we identify as that seeming entity. But that itself is just a concept that comes and goes, leaving us totally untouched and unchanged. Taking that separation as real, we look for techniques to gain reality. We wonder how we will achieve knowledge of who we are, and so on. But these are all founded on the notion that we are a separate I apart from reality. We take this thought to be who we are, imagine a duality, and seek understanding as if we do not have it. But it is all conceptual because we have never left reality. Reality is simple being, which is present and aware. You are that even now. The notion of separation, the I thought, which is the basis of all concepts, is simply a notion that comes and goes as an image in the pure, untouched awareness that you are. Pause thought and know that you are already that which you have been seeking. All the doubts and questions are based on the presumption that you are separate from being awareness. But that separation never happened. You are that knowing presence, even now. Words are apt to overcomplicate the utter simplicity of this.